Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Imperial Tide, the Great War 1914 to 1918. This is a game designed by Greg Smith and published by Compass Games. If you're a fan of the channel and you've been watching, you know that I've covered a lot of Greg Smith games, and that's because this guy is a design machine. He just keeps cranking out games, and they're all damn good. This is another in the series that he started with Pacific Tide, which covered the Pacific Theater, and then there was Ostkrieg covering the East Front, and now we have Imperial Tide covering World War I. This is primarily a two-player game, but you can use the solitaire bot to play solo, and I've played this game at Compass Expo, and it's a lot of fun. So I think if you are a World War I fan and you want to be able to play the First World War out in a couple of hours, I've already recommended an Attrition of Souls, as well as The Lamps Are Going Out, as far as really quick playing fun games that cover World War I. Add this one to the mix and you have the perfect World War I trifecta. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. Imperial Tide is a two-player strategic level game which places you in command of either the Allied or Central powers during the Great War. Each turn consists of a year during which multiple card plays occur. These give the players movement, combats, entrenchments, and other actions. At the end of each year, players must make critical decisions on which cards to rebuy in an attempt to win the war outright or to win by placing the other side in a disadvantageous position by 1918. Imperial Tide is based on the popular action-packed Pacific Tide game system by Greg Smith, with many combat and strategic decisions to challenge players in just a single evening's game. And there's more here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it gives you an example of the map, the cards, and then the counters. For components, we get 2 counter sheets, 1 map, a solitaire play aid card, 48 game cards, 3 year cards, and a rule book. Complexity is 5 out of 10. Time scale is 1 turn equals 1 year. And the map scale is strategic abstract, unit scale strategic, and it is for 1 to 2 players. Solitaire suitability is high, and the average time to play is 3 to 4 hours, and it is recommended for ages 14 and up. So let's take a look inside and see what we get. Nice tight fit. We have our pack of cards, some baggies, the Compass catalog, which the holiday sale is still ongoing here, and we have a quick little piece of errata that says Allied cards 19 and 20 are printed as 1916 cards. They should be 1917 cards. Not a big deal, easy to fix. We have our dice, sealed for freshness. Rulebook, the solitaire play aid, the counters, which are nice pre-rounded, easy to punch out, and the mounted map. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the map that comes with the game. It is a beautifully done mounted map. Once again, lays flat right out of the box, which is fantastic. Compass does a great job with that. This is a point-to-point movement map, and all of the countries are color-coded and connected via rail lines. At the bottom left, we have the Allied powers, and this is where you're going to be keeping track of your build points for each of the countries along the left-hand side here, and the same for the Central powers at the top. You have your AP build loss, and then the CP build loss for the Central powers at the top. Each side has their own combat results table, which is going to be the same, but you have it on either side for both of you to read. You have your current year box and then the terrain effects chart, so that way you know what all of the different terrain types are on the map and what their effects are. But overall, a beautifully done map, and it makes for a great presentation on the table. And we'll take a look at the player aid that comes with the game, and that is for the solitaire bot. If you played Pacific Tide, you're going to be familiar with the layout as well as the use of the solitaire bot. It follows a similar pattern. You start off with S1 and you just work your way through all the way down to the bottom. And that continues over to the second side for S5 and then S6 for the solitaire handicap. And we'll take a look at the counter sheets that come with the game. These are the standard Compass thick pre-rounded counters. Beautifully done, and they are color-coded just like the spots are on the map, and very easy to read. The only number on there is the strength number, and you can easily make change as you see fit throughout the spots that you're on the map, but you do have a finite amount of units. And on the second sheet, we have the remainder of the units as well as the administrative counters for use in the game. And we'll take a look at a few examples of the cards in use during the game. The top we have the central powers, and at the bottom we have the allied powers. Each card is going to give you similar information on things you can do. You can activate areas for movement, you can place different units in different locations, you can attack, so on and so forth. At the bottom left we have the year that the card is used. In the middle we have information that's used with the solitaire bot. And at the bottom right is the cost that will be paid for buying back the card from year to year. And the last cards to look at are the year cards. We have 1914, 16, and 18 out here. 15 and 17 are on the back of 14 and 16. Each of these cards is going to tell you who the first player is, also the build points for each player, and then the resources for both sides, which we saw you track on the map. And on the back of the 1918 card is the special Schlieffenplan attack. And we'll take a look at the rules. This is a 16-page full-color rulebook. Inside of the front cover, we have the table of contents, and we get to the description, victory conditions, and then the game components. I'll explain to you here how to read the cards, the counters, how they're used, the different national colors and abbreviations. Then we get to setting up the game on page 5, and then you have your force setup for both the allied and central powers, and then the neutral powers set up here. And then gameplay gets started on page 6. So not a lot of rules, as you can see. A pretty straightforward game. Greg generally does a really good job of keeping his rules short and also to the point and pretty easy to grok. Start off with the year start, special rules for 1914. Then you get into different types of movement, entrenching, different types of movement mechanics, stacking, train effects on movement, train effects on combat, additional movement effects and limitations. Then we get into the attack. Artillery fire phase, attrition combat fire phase, then your main combat phase, as well as advance and retreat. Additional attack limitations, advance and retreat after combat. Then we have an illustrated example here of an attack. Then we get to placing units, resource points and placing units, supply and control, Russian Revolution, discard cards, say that 3 times fast, aircraft use, neutral country entry into the war, and then country surrender in the effects. Then the year end, solitaire play aid on page 13. So that's pretty much your rules. Starts off on page 4 for the rules proper, all the way to 13. Then you start off with the solitaire play aid, example of play for the first year. And then we have the designer's notes on page 15. And then we have the rules index and the areas by starting country control on the back of the rulebook. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Imperial Tide, the Great War, 1914 to 1918. This is a game designed by Greg Smith and published by Compass Games. Well, once again, Greg Smith does it. He comes up with an idea and he runs with it through to fruition, and we have another great game on our table. Pacific Tide started this series, then it was followed by Oathskrieg, and now Imperial Tide. Not sure where he's going next. He's talked about possibly ACW with like Rebel Tide or something like that. But this is a system that could run in perpetuity. It is just a great system that can be used for any theater or any war. And I'd love to see what else he has up his sleeves with this. This is a great way to play an entire World War I game in one evening. You play it in 2, 3, maybe 4 hours tops. But generally, it's going to run probably about 3 hours or so. Depends on how much decision making it's going to, or how long it's going to take you to make your decisions. Some people have AP, some people don't, but it is a lot of fun. Now, there is a solitaire aid, so you can play against the bot, and it does work really well, but it is really meant to be an opposed game. That's because you don't know what a human being's going to do. People may think they're clever and they've got this awesome plan, and it may very well be. Other times they may think they get a clever plan, and next thing you know is they play a card wrong, or their plan really wasn't as good to begin with. But that's where the playing it opposed is better than the solitaire bot. But overall, it is just great either way. Love the graphics on the counters, love the graphics on the map. Again, another beautifully done hard-mounted map. We've got the same coming out with Pacific Tide 2nd edition, which is going to be out this year with the mounted map, and I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. But you cannot go wrong if you are a World War I fan with the trifecta, as I'm calling it. An attrition of souls, lamps are going out, and Imperial Tide. Compass has the World War I trifecta right there, and definitely recommend all 3 games. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you'd be curious about this one. You have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.